you ever wondered what kind of training happens behind the scenes in one of those $15,000 mastermind groups? Well, today, you're going to get a taste. Ray sat down with Jennifer Allwood, business coach, podcaster, and best-selling author, who teaches creative entrepreneurs how to connect strategy, mindset, and faith to make six figures online. And Ray gave in-depth details on how content creators and entrepreneurs can leverage sales copy in this copywriting masterclass to boost your income and sales online. Let's take you behind the scenes with Ray and Jennifer.
Ray, he was highly recommended to me by my first coach, which was Sandy Krakowski. And so she always talked about your book. And so I had his book, and then he was like our guest at our mastermind one time with Stu. And so that was fabulous. And so Ray is a communication strategist. He's a copywriter. His book is on Amazon. It's a bestseller. I remember that. It's called How to Write Copy That Sells. And then your second book, Ray, is Permission to Prosper. Yes?
Right. Yes, that's correct.
And that one's in the last year. Is Permission to Prosper in the last year?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Yay. So he also has a podcast, The Ray Edwards Show. I'm so glad that you named your podcast similar to mine, The Jennifer Allwood Show. Just kept it easy.
Yeah. And humble.
And humble. Yes. I remember when we were trying to think of a name, we're like, let's just keep it really easy. But you have been working on copy and marketing forever and a day. And not because you're old, but I mean, you've been doing it before it was cool. Am I right?
Yes.
I know.
It seemed cool to me, but it was not as cool. Most people didn't have any idea what it was back then when I started. Now more people know than not.
Yeah. And so we're going to talk about that, but I want to give you one more detail about Ray, because it's so important. So his writing has helped to generate an estimated $400 million, you guys, $400 million for clients like the New York Times, Tony Robbins, Michael Hyatt, Dan Miller, Jeff Goins, Jack Canfield. Is he Chicken Noodle Soup for the Soul?
That's him.
That's him. Okay, so I thought Mark Victor Hansen, Jeff Walker, and so many more. So he's been on Forbes, Social Media Examiner, entrepreneur.com. He knows his way around copywriting. So Ray, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I was so honored to get the invitation, and I had to pray about it for like 1 second. 1 second. Where I said yes.
Awesome. We're so glad. Okay, so tell the people that are here, and we have all females in this group, not that matters, but about what copywriting is, maybe even, what copywriting isn't, but I'd love just to start there, just a real big baseline.
Sure. It's a good idea to start there, because some people think it means that little C inside the circle that protects your intellectual property. And that's not what I'm talking about.
Thought that. I've never even thought that.
I have people ask me that a lot when I'm speaking at events. They'll say, how do I copyright my song? Like, no, that's the other kind of copywriting.
That's another kind of copywriting. That's okay. I never would have thought that people would confuse the two. Good to know.
This is writing words that sell.
Yes.
And so most of us think of like sales pages when we think of that, but it's also all the words that you write or speak on your podcast or on your videos. It's all your communication, because as Nora Ephron said, she wrote a book called Everything is Copy, because every word you publish into the world, whether it's from your lips or on your screen or in your video or on your sales page or in the mail that you send to people, every word forms an impression in their mind about you and what you have to offer, the value that you bring. And so I like to think of everything we write as copy, but specifically, we're usually in this context, we're talking about sales pages and email copy.
Okay. And so tell me, how did you figure out that you were good at this? Or that, how did you even get into copywriting?
Well,
I mean, go ahead.
It started when I was a kid. I would go visit my grandparents, and my grandmother had these great newspapers. I didn't realize that the National Enquirer and the Weekly World News were not actual news at that time, but they had these big one-page stories that I did not realize were ads, but they were ads for books, and different books like how to cure diseases naturally with food from your kitchen. These were ads written by the great Eugene Schwartz. He was one of the greatest copywriters of all time. I only learned that later in life, and I was working in the radio business. Then I was a DJ, and I had to write copy for the clients of the radio station, because that was just part of your job. And I went back and looked at those ads, and I thought, this is how you do it. So I started studying books by Eugene Schwartz and by people like Jay Abraham, and there's other great copywriters that probably none of us, most have never heard of, but they were the old classic copywriters. Then I found Dan Kennedy and began studying all this work of how to engineer words together in the right sequence, right order, the right sequence for the right people in the right context to get them to make a decision that this is important to me, that is in their favor. So I started writing ads for the clients of the stations, and they loved me because I wrote ads that brought people into their businesses.
Yeah.
And other DJs got fired because the ratings would go down, but they didn't fire me because like the Ford account or the New Holland account or the big accounts at the radio stations, they didn't want their favorite copywriter who brought them business to get fired. So I kept my job where other DJs got fired.
Okay. I love that. And I also love that you said that copywriting is really any place where you're like putting words together, because when I think of copywriting, I think mostly on sales pages and in emails, but I love that it sounds like you're also saying, and even just the Instagram stories I just did.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's copywriting. And so, obviously in my head, I'm thinking it's super important because it helps to hopefully eventually lead to trust, which will hopefully eventually lead to a sale. But is that the main goal of copywriting? Is that why it's so important is it the trust factor, or is it the being able to get them to do a client or potential client what you want them to do?
That's a great question. And if you boil it down to its barest essence, yes, it is getting them to do what you want them to do.
Okay.
And what I'm hoping is you want them to do what's in their best interest. So I can give you a whole copywriting course in less than 5 minutes. You want me to do
right here this morning?
Right here this morning.
Okay. All right. I'm getting my own notes. I've got my stuff here. Go for it.
I created a framework for writing any piece of copy, whether you're writing the script or an outline for a podcast or a blog post, or you're writing your notes for an Instagram story, or you're going to write a sales page or an email.
Okay.
And it's the Pastor framework, PASTOR. It has zero to do with being a preacher.
Okay.
Unless that's your job, in which case you can use it there too. I have lots of pastors who actually use this framework to write their sermons on Sunday mornings.
Okay.
Hopefully they write them before Sunday mornings, but sometimes not. So the reason I chose the word pastor is because the original meaning of the word is to shepherd.
Yes.
And what does a shepherd do? The shepherd cares for the flock, protects the sheep, feeds them, waters them, keeps the predators away, makes sure they're healthy and safe and can sleep in peace. And of course, we all know the story. The great shepherd laid down his life for the sheep.
Amen.
And that resonates deeply with people.
Yes.
And it also puts us in a different place when we're thinking about shepherding our potential customers and clients. Now we're not coming from a place of manipulation and wanting to get their money and get them. I don't even like that terminology, get them.
That's a great differentiation though.
And so what we're doing is we're shepherding them to making a good decision. And the good decision might be, don't buy from me. So I think it's important that we detach from the outcome and we attach to wanting to take care of the sheep. And that's not to say that they're below us. It's just to say they're in our care. So we're shepherding them to a good decision. The letters of the word pastor stand for the framework. PASTOR. P stands for person, problem, pain. So you start with the person you're writing to, or that you're creating your Instagram story for, whomever you're communicating with. You think about, what problem am I helping to solve here? Maybe it's in a conversation, and the problem is you want your husband or your kids to agree to go to a certain restaurant to eat dinner.
Okay.
So that's the problem. And the pain is they don't want to go there. So you're working through that. Perhaps the problem is something you help people with in business. Perhaps you help them be fit over 40 and happy and energetic and fun and whatever those other words were in that delightful podcast we just looked at. By the way, that was great copy. There were words that were copy on that podcast cover, and there was a photograph, an image. She exuded energy and fun. So person, problem, pain. Who's the person you're writing to? What's the problem you're going to help them solve? And what's the pain you're going to relieve for them? And I know there are going to be some questions about that. We'll get to that in a moment.
Yes.
Let's move on to the A. The A stands for amplify. This is where you want to amplify the pain of not solving the problem, because we human beings are great at denial. We love to cruise the river of denial. And if we can just sit comfortably, even if we're in an uncomfortable situation, we get comfortable in it. We don't want to do anything to change it. We're not uncomfortable enough to make ourselves move. So part of our job, and this freaks people out a little bit, is to amplify the consequences of not taking action and solving the problem now. So this is where we might say, if you're helping people start their own online business, for instance, you might say, look, what's going to happen if you don't start your online business? Well, here's what's going to happen. The economy is going to be turbulent. People are still going to get laid off. Inflation is still going to happen. You're not going to be able to create money when you need it. And this situation could lead you to, maybe you run out of money. Maybe your retirement account diminishes. Maybe you have to move to a smaller house. Maybe you end up being a greeter at Walmart at age 75 because you have to have that extra money. Now that's some people get like, is that selling through fear? No, if that's a real situation that person is facing and they don't want to see it, I think it's our job, our responsibility, to show them, look, if you don't do something about this, this is what's going to happen. I mean, think about Dave Ramsey and how he counsels people about not being in debt. And he paints the picture. Look, if you don't fix this, this is where you're going to end up.
Yeah.
Is he selling through fear? No, he's showing you, here's a cliff you're about to fall off of, you don't even know about.
Yes, that's accurate.
The other side of A, there's amplify the pain, but there's also show them their aspirations. So if you're helping them with fitness, you want to not only show them the bad effects on their heart and their lungs if they don't get fit and eat the right food, but you also want to show them the aspirations of you can feel younger, you can have more energy, you can be slimmer, you can be more pleased with the way your body looks because you know it demonstrates the health that you feel inside. And so you're showing them what they aspire to, the perfect situation once they've solved the problem.
Okay.
And then we move to the S of Pastor, which is the story of the struggle, and then the success, and then the system. And the reason all four of those things are important is, first of all, stories sell. Think about in the Bible, when Jesus taught, did he ever teach a 3-point exegetical sermon?
Nope.
No.
Parables.
He just told stories, and they were powerful, and they're weird to us, but back in those days, in that time, they meant something to the people who heard them.
Yep.
And it moved them to action. So that's what we're doing as well. We're telling stories. Stories don't have to be super long. We can get into that a little bit if you want to, a little bit later on, but they can be very short.
Okay.
So you're telling the story, and it's best if you can share a story of how you struggle with the same problem. Now, sometimes we can't do that because we're selling a product we did not create. So we can't say, I had this problem, and so I created this amazing nutritional powder, and now it solved the problem for me. But we can share the story of the person who did create it, or we can share the story of the person we had in mind when we helped put the product together, or we can share the story of like one of our superstar customers. And for those of you who know Stu McLaren, as he talks about his membership experience trainings,
does that so well.
Always just telling stories of his people and how they've succeeded in all these different ways.
Okay.
So, and it's also important that we share our struggle. I mean, one of the biggest mistakes we can make is to pretend that we're perfect and we never make a mistake. We're the all-knowing, all-wise business, marketing, fitness, whatever our particular niche is. We're the guru, because nobody believes that. First of all, newsflash. Secondly, even if they do believe it, it's demoralizing, because it's like learning to be a millionaire from a lottery winner.
Right.
What good does that do me?
Right.
None. Right. So they want to hear our struggle. And you can overdo this. You don't want to become known as the struggle bunny, but there is a way to share your struggle that it's your story, but it's about them. That's the key.
Because they see themselves in your story.
Yes. You want to find those common elements that you can share, and people are going, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about there. Okay. And then you share the solution and you share the system. And the system is important because you need to show them that not only did you solve it for yourself, you've solved it for other people, and you have a system that anybody can follow if they fit your criteria for a right fit client for you. They can use the system and it should work for them as well.
Okay.
And then the T in Pastor, we've gone to PAST is for testimony and transformation. So as we've all heard probably thousands of times now, but it bears repeating again, what you're selling is actually not the stuff that you're selling. It's what it brings about. It's the transformation. So even as we're sharing testimony, and this is, yes, it's you telling your story, but it's also you getting your clients, your customers to share their success story about how it worked and helped them. And you want to encourage them to describe the transformation they experienced in that testimony. I mean, it's great if you have a customer who pops on a video and says, Jennifer is so fantastic. She's so friendly and fun and colorful and funny. And I just love being around her and she encourages me. And that's all true, by the way.
Thank you.
And also it would be really good if they shared like concretely how you helped them, how you helped them to create the life that they want to be living in a specific way. So that's testimony and transformation. Then O brings us to the offer. All these things we've been sharing up to now have been preparing us to make the offer, because by now, if we've done our job in relating all the copy I've just gone over with you in the PAST part of the framework, they're already asking, if they're in front of you, well, how can I get this?
How do I get it? Okay.
And that's perfect, because now you're going to tell them. And you're simply going to say, well, here's what I have to share with you today. It's my system for doing this, and it's called, and you tell them the name of your system. Okay. And then you begin to tell them exactly how it's going to transform their life. Now, people make the mistake of wanting to make the big, long list and get into things like, well, we have a 587 page manual, and we have 38 hours of recordings. And first of all, nobody wants that.
Right. Those are all what we call the features. Do you call those the features too, Ray? Yes. So we on occasion will send an email that includes the features of a new course or what have you, but we try to really stick with the benefits, which is just, I mean, I don't always buy because of how many weeks it is or, the manual size, but I do buy for the transformation.
Yes. I mean, it's, so often I will look at the information about a course that's being offered and they've got it dialed in so much detail. It's like scaring me away, but I'll see that one lesson and it'll say something like, this is the script we pasted into our webpage that made our ad tracking work 100% better. I'm like, oh, I got to have that. Made our ad tracking work 100% better. It's that little phrase that's powerful and meaningful. You do need to tell them what they're getting. So you do want to say it's an online course and it's 6 modules or 6 weeks or whatever it is. But I would encourage you, as you're doing that, you don't have to get into so much detail like so many people do. You can just say, in week 1, we're going to define what is the perfect business for you? What does your life look like when you're operating your perfect business? Okay. And do you have the peace and the joy and the freedom that you want to have? Do you have time to spend with your family? And then you go into creating that and you're always talking about the benefits, the transformation they're going to experience. And then you share with them how to get it. And that comes to the R, which is request a response. I mean, in real world selling, the number one reason people don't make a sale is they don't ask for the sale. And it's a shame, because even like big time 6-figure salespeople have this problem. They get with somebody that intimidates them a little bit and they don't ask for the sale. They just decide not to do it. Or if they do ask for it, they do it like as they're stepping out the door saying, well, you probably don't want this, do you? This is where we need to lean in. This is where we need to believe in what we're doing. Okay. And if you have to work yourself up to believe it, something's off. Listen to that and go look at what's off. Either you've got a limiting belief about your own product or you need to fix it. Because like with our product, I know every business owner, and I'll go even further than that, every person needs to learn how to communicate persuasively, because I believe that the quality of your life is determined directly by the quality of your communication. First with your creator, then with yourself, then with the people around you.
That's so good.
If you don't have that squared away, you're going to have lots of problems and you're going to be putting out fires thinking, why is all this stuff going wrong in my life? And looking for 12 different solutions when it's really just one thing. You're not communicating persuasively and clearly.
Can I ask you a question about when you're talking about making the offer? I feel like sometimes, and this is not a sexist statement, but I feel like men generally, it seems like they do a better job of this, or that it's easier for them. Sometimes I feel like for women that because we're super emotional, that we sometimes get into what you just said, which is well, I don't blame you if you don't want this, or, it's probably, you're right, it's probably not a good time for you. And because, we're very heart-led and I'm probably not saying the words right, but sometimes I feel like, God wired us as females in a certain way. And sometimes I feel like when we get to the part where we have to make an offer or sell, that we can get a little tripped up as women, because we feel like we're like veering into, slimy salesman type of things. And so we have a tendency to back down. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
Okay. Anything that you can speak to with that? Because, the only thing that I know that has helped me immensely is to shift my mind from selling to serving. And when I shift my mind from selling, I'm not selling them my program. I am serving them by offering them a program that I actually think would really help them. And when I'm able to make that shift, then I'm able to give them the offer with more, not necessarily confidence, but without feeling like I'm pitching, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Help us in that area. Can you?
I can, because
Okay.
I have always been more heart led. I like that as well.
Yeah.
And for the early parts of my career, especially when I was selling like in person, or I was speaking at an event where we were selling from the stage, or I was speaking on a call like this, I would often tone it down when I got to the offer.
Me too.
However, I ran into a couple of situations where I even talked to people as they were considering buying something, and I talked them out of it because I felt like it wasn't right for them.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I did that with a lady who was considerably older and wiser than me.
Okay.
But to me, what I saw was a little old lady who was about to give me $5,000. And I felt like, I can't do this. Mm-hmm. And I just told her, I don't think this is for you. And she said, why not? And I explained my reasons, which had to do with, I don't want to take your money. And she said, listen, did you lie to me? No. Mm-hmm. Does it do what you said it would do? Yes. Then don't tell me I can't buy it.
Wow. Wham.
Yes. So here's a little shift that I like to make that I think could help a lot of folks. When I'm selling and I start feeling any of that feeling coming over me, I will stop and say, listen, everybody, I've told you enough today. And this is true right now today as well. I've told you enough already. You can take what I told you and you can make this work. You're all intelligent. You're all smart. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. I mean, you had to figure out how to connect to Zoom, which is not always the easiest thing. Mm-hmm. And you can do this. What I'm offering you is a roadmap and a shortcut, and I'm saving you time. I'm saving you frustration. And if that appeals to you, let me tell you why I think this is going to help you. And then I can go into it full-fledged, because I've told them, you don't have to buy this. You don't need this.
Right.
But if you want to save like all the hours and money I put into learning how to do it and just borrow my best ideas, then let's talk.
That's so good. Because then like psychologically, you almost possibly feel like, okay, I gave them an opportunity to also not buy and told them, here's why I would buy if you fit this criteria, but also you have the option of not buying, and then you're able to kind of continue. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. Does that go for whether it is a product or a service, either one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We sell coaching. I know you do a little coaching yourself.
Yeah.
And so often people are investing a lot of money for the coaching. And I actually begin by asking them, what prompted you to have this conversation with me? Because you know what we're talking about. They know in advance before we talk how much the coaching is.
Sure.
And I will begin to probe for reasons why they should not do it based on their motivations. I'm not basing it on mine.
Okay.
And I'm asking them why they'll tell me they learned a lot from the presentation or what have you. And I'll say, well, why not just take that and run with it? Or why not just keep doing what you're doing? You're doing okay. Mm-hmm. And they begin giving me all the reasons why they want to move forward. And then I'll shift into asking them what things might be a problem with you being in this program. What things have come up for you before? They'll begin. So what I'm doing is I am looking for legitimately reasons for them not to buy, but I'm giving them the opportunity to put that out in the open air. We can talk about it where there's not that weird pressure of like, oh, he's trying to psychologically manipulate me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm coming from a place of genuine interest and desire to help them. Mm-hmm. And so eventually, even those kind of more casual approaches to selling, it seems casual. It is intentional. It's not a trick, but it's intentional.
Okay.
It leads to them saying, often, probably in half the cases, conversations I have, they'll end up saying, okay, I'm just ready to go. How do we get started?
Mm,
And I haven't done any pitching.
right.
I mean, the one-to-one calls I do with people involve zero pitching. And
Interesting.
I have a closing ratio currently this year of over 90%.
Wow. Okay. And is that for like your own coaching, or that's for your program, right?
That's for my own coaching.
Okay.
For the program, it's a little considerably lower than that.
Okay.
But because one-to-one pitching or selling is it's personal, and I can observe your facial expression. I can hear your tone of voice.
I was going to ask you, do you do it on Zoom so you can watch facial expression?
Required.
Okay.
I don't do them if we can't do them on Zoom, because I want, and I want them to see my facial expression too.
Okay.
I think it's much more authentic communication that way. And I know we're all Zoom fatigued, but this is an important decision for people. And then the challenge with a sales page, like I always use a video on our sales pages. I recommend it to our clients as well. The challenge is, however, you can't see their body language. You can't see the expression on their face.
Yeah.
They're not asking you questions. So you have to figure out what all that stuff is in advance. And that, by the way, because I'm sure some people are asking this, why are those dang sales pages so long?
Yeah.
That's why you've got to communicate so much information.
Yeah. Okay. So is there like a price point, Ray? Because I know we've got some people in here, that are selling like $1,000 course, for example. So do you suggest trying to get people on a Zoom like this, yes, for $1,000 course, or do you suggest it need, if it's over the 5,000 or 10,000, or is there like a price threshold, or do you just feel like to whatever capacity you have, that this sort of being able to speak to them in this manner is always helpful?
Well, it's always helpful to the process. There is kind of an inverse effect. However, if you're selling something for $47 and you have to get on the phone with somebody for an hour to sell it.
Yeah, that doesn't not helpful.
That's not helpful to you or to them, and it doesn't scale. And however, I'll say this: many times we have students in some of our programs who are. My general advice is I personally won't get on the phone or Zoom and talk with somebody unless we're talking about one of our bigger programs. Like we have a certification, we have a big high ticket mastermind.
Yeah.
However, I mean there have been times in the past where I thought, is it worth $1,000 for me to get on the phone with this person for 10 minutes? Yes. At that time, the answer was yes. So that's legitimate also.
Okay.
I do think if you get below that $1,000 mark, that's sort of my benchmark these days.
Yeah. Okay.
And you're trying to sell them something for a couple $100 and you're spending a lot of time on it. Yeah. It'll actually cost you money in the long run, or maybe in the short run.
Yeah. So when we were talking, I'm going to back up just a little bit here to, the pastor and what each of those things stand for. I can wrap my head around using that like structure on a sales page, using it in an email. How do you do that like on a social media post? Where you've got this much space on Instagram or this much space on Facebook. Do you just kind of like, give me your thoughts on that, like good copy on social media?
Sure. The North Star for me is, what am I trying to accomplish in this communication? What's my most wanted result? So if my most wanted result is I want to achieve some rapport and bonding with my folks who watch my stories, I'm going to be showing them my dogs, or me and my wife taking a walk, or just part of our daily life, or a beautiful sunset that I saw from my deck, which seems cliche, but it's what people share with one another. And so that's my most wanted result. That's what I'm going to do. If my most wanted result is I want them to pay attention to the email I'm going to send Monday morning, because I'm going to be talking about my new program, I'll actually just talk about that.
Talk about the email itself.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So if we're in the midst of promoting something, like right now we're promoting our certification program where we certify copywriters. We've got a whole big ching-a-ling-a-hoo-ha we're doing about that. So
did you say ching-a-ling-a-hing? What did you say? I'm going to have to borrow that.
Ching-a-ling-a-hoo-ha.
A ching-a-ling-a-hoo-ha. It's amazing.
It's what you get growing up in Kentucky.
Yes, I gotcha.
I don't really know what it is. I hope it's not something bad.
And I don't know. It's hilarious. And I'm going to try to remember that later.
So, now I lost train of thought.
Yeah.
So we're promoting the certification program. So I'm doing a lot of social video where I'm talking about why it's a good idea to think about being a certified copywriter, or you could be promoting a coaching certification, or just a product or a membership that helps people with a certain particular problem they're having. Just talking about, not necessarily about the product in all my posts, but the problems people have, and then sharing the stories of people that you've helped. And, I'll talk about folks like Mike Kim, who, when we first met, he joined one of our programs because he was working a corporate job that he just didn't like. It was sucking the soul out of him, as he put it. And now he's an independent, a personal branding expert. He's just published a book that was it was in the top of the charts on Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestsellers list. And he's just come so far. Okay. And we've walked on that journey together. So we'll tell stories about those things. So the key is to focus on what's your most desired outcome and not be trying to achieve 10 different things in one post.
Okay. I sometimes find myself guilty of that. Because I know sometimes you just have to make 1 point, not 5 points in one post.
I know, but it's hard, isn't it? To refrain.
It is. Sometimes it's hard. And what's interesting too, and you guys can let me know in the chat, because Ray has wrote 2 books. I have we'll call it a book and a half, because the second one really went with the first one. But the difference between writing copy for a book, you have this much space to get your thoughts out, to then go to social media and you have this much space to make your point. And it's just totally different. The copy has to be totally different. And, I'm even like learning, like, let's say on TikTok, for example, which I have been slow to the game on and really drug my feet and didn't want to do another thing, because at 51, Ray, I just don't want to. And, but here I am. But like on TikTok, you really don't use any copy, hardly at all, in the description of the video, but it's more just the copy that you're speaking. It's just with your words. And so just making 1 point in a short amount of time, has been really important. And so trying to wrap my head around, because it's different also, like copy on Facebook versus copy on Instagram. I think they're 2 totally different things.
Oh, 100% agreed. And this business of speaking copy is really important, because some of the people who are the best copywriters I can name are actually verbal copywriters. Tony Robbins is a verbal copywriter.
Okay. So would you call that just like an exceptional communicator, or not necessarily? Can I be an exceptional communicator, but still not have the ability to sell with my words?
You have the ability. You may not have worked on developing the skill.
Okay. That's really good.
But if you can communicate, and I think everybody here can communicate, or you wouldn't be here.
Yes.
You absolutely can become a more exceptional communicator. Let me put it that way.
Yes.
And I like to study people who are really good at this. So Tony Robbins is good at it. Marie Forleo is good at it. You are fantastic at it.
Really? Thank you.
Yes. Well,
thank you.
You're welcome. I only say things like that if I mean them, though.
Thank you.
So I want to underline for you why I think that is so. You are articulate and you have a good sense of humor. And most importantly, though, you have a strong belief about what you're doing and its importance to other people. And it's
going to make me cry.
It comes through in all your communication. You care. You want to help.
Thank you.
And when you see people hurting and suffering, you want to lift them up. And that feeling can make up for any shortcoming anybody may feel they have about how they put words together, how eloquent they are. Because I think it was Dale Carnegie who said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Thank you for that. So when you are, let's say on social media in particular, or even if I guess you're looking at sales pages, right? Are there like any best tips, or I don't want to say like errors, but are there things that when you see people kind of do over and over, you're like, oh, don't do that on your copy. That's hurting your, sales, or hurting your ability to communicate versus helping. Is there any like best practices, best tips, or things to definitely don't do when we're thinking about writing copy?
Yes, I'll share what I think is the number one problem with most copy, and that is it's written for the product producer and not for the product purchaser. It's written for us, not for the customer. And we may look at our site and point to it and say, but look, it doesn't say I, it says you. It's all about them. You need to do this. You need to buy this. You need to know that we're the best because we've been around for 30 years, or whatever the things are we say that we think are about the customer, but they're really about us. The reader, the customer, the viewer, visitor, they don't care about us at first.
Yeah.
And they don't care about how we look or how our site looks, or what they want to know is, I have a stinking problem. Can you help me solve it?
I agree with this so much. Yes.
And so the mistake I see people make is, one of my colleagues, John Carlton, calls it throat clearing copy. It's like that speaker who gets up and they're just like, so good to be here. Thanks, Jess, for helping me get down to the right room where we're having the meeting. And they go through all this, and you're sitting there thinking, oh dear heavens.
Yeah.
Is this ever going to start, and will it ever end?
Right.
That's not what you want. And it happens in copy all the time.
Okay.
So if you know what the problem is you're helping people solve, like if you're somebody who teaches people how to meal prep quickly, easily, and with great nutrition value, you might start off your copy by saying, if you have been struggling to prepare quick, easy, nutritional meals for your family and would like to get it done in 2 hours on a Sunday afternoon, have I got something to tell you about?
Oh, that's so good. I hope somebody in here just grabbed that for themselves, because we have some people who are exactly in that industry.
So now you're into it. And I think if you look at the best TikTok videos right now, you look at the best YouTube videos, and how do you know they're the best? Look at how many people are viewing them. Look at the engagement. Look at the comments. Which ones are busy, which ones are not. The best ones are the ones that get straight to it. There's no intro. There's no throat clearing. There's no
fluff.
There's no fluff. You're just on.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. And so we did an exercise the other day in one of our groups about writing the bio for our businesses on Instagram. And that's one of the things that I was telling the ladies there, that like so many people are making their bio all about them instead of all about how they can help the person who's looking at it for the first time. And I think it's okay to say something great that you have done, but the fact that you are a mom of 16 kids and been married, for a long, long time and live in Georgia, like none of that matters to the people on the other end, unless you are literally, your business is parenting or marriage or Georgia tourism. You know what I mean? Otherwise, like that's all about you, but that doesn't help them make a decision about just even following you. Because I think sometimes, in my opinion anyway, I think that the copy matters on our bio too. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a number of, the first reason is what you just described, because people are just looking to see, what does this mean to me?
Yes.
Secondly, though, it's easy to come off the wrong way. You can come off sounding egotistical or dry or boring, or you can turn people off so easily, because I mean, how many of us have sent a text message that we meant something really good? I'm going to
look at your bio while you're talking. Go ahead.
Oh, that's comfortable.
I'm so sorry. Okay. I won't show everything.
No. Do it. Okay. Here's the next biggest mistake that copywriters make, and business people who write their own copy make: not being open to feedback.
Yeah.
Because, and I was so guilty of this for so long. I just didn't want to hear people's feedback. You know why? Because it hurt. Yeah. It doesn't feel good to have people look at your work and say, this could be better.
Yeah.
What I have learned is there's great wisdom in many counselors. So we can receive feedback. I'm always open to hear people's feedback. I don't always agree with them, but I'm always open to hear it. So
yeah. If you don't follow Ray on Instagram, it's obviously Ray Edwards. Your bio, in my humble opinion, is perfect. It's fabulous. Not that I'm a bio expert, but he helping entrepreneurs write the words that sell. Clients, Tony Robbins, Michael Hyatt, Jack Canfield. Everybody would know those people. 500 million in sales. And then he even has what I tell all you guys to do. Remember, sometimes, and we can talk about this too, Ray, I'd love to know, but I'm always telling them, you've got to write your copy in like 5th and 6th grade level. And so you've done that here with amazing, 90% off sale now with an arrow pointing down, because you'd be shocked at how many people, they just don't know what to do when they hit your bio. So just like instructing them, like I would one of my kids, like right here, like click right here. That's so good. Your bio is phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. That's, Instagram is so interesting to me because it's like a puzzle. It's like a video game. Mm-hmm. I know people get all upset about the bad content or the scary stuff or the doom scrolling. I like playing the game. And, it's just fun. Like I figured out, if I put an animated silly arrow that points to the link in my Instagram story about my podcast, more people will know, click on this link.
Yes. Okay. I have some more questions here for you. Okay. So if let's say somebody is needing to write copy for their sales page or emails or even just social posts, right? And they feel like they're in a slump, or every once in a while I'll be like, okay, all right, I got to sit down now. And I don't have a whole lot of, not feeling uber creative. Do you have any tips for people who feel like, they gotta sit down and write something and they just feel like wah.
Yeah.
I have nothing. I have nothing.
I feel that way too sometimes, so don't feel bad about it. The key is just get writing something. So
okay.
My advice, if you got nothing, if you're just sitting at zero and you don't have any notes you've made previously or anything like that, or any the work of any people whom you admire, who inspire you, then just maybe sit down and just write out, this is going to sound silly, write out your offer. Like, okay, 8 weeks coaching, even if that's all you got, 8 weeks coaching, it helps you to have a better mindset. That helps you do better things in your life. That helps you if you keep pushing yourself to write the next thing, eventually what happens for me is I get going and I'll get something useful out of that writing session. However, the real answer for me is on my phone, I have a text app. Like for Apple users, it could be Apple Notes.
Yep.
I use that. I use another one as well. It doesn't matter, whatever you're using. It's not something that connects to the internet because I don't want to get distracted by that. Anytime I have an idea.
Me too.
Or like I see something that I think, oh, that's a great little bit of phrasing. I pop that into a text file. And especially when I have title ideas. Like one idea I had in here near the top of my list was avoid a life of quiet desperation. So I ended up writing a post this morning based on just that title.
That's so good. That's so good. This weekend, so I all the time will say, Siri, make a note and make a note. I was walking through a field this weekend at my family's farm in Iowa. And I was watching, Ari and I were trying to walk around thistles. Like, it's a field with cattle in it. And so we're trying to walk around the things that will prick you in the ankles. And my daughter, Ava, said, no, you just walk right on top of them. And I was like, what? And she goes, you just go ahead and smash them down with your foot and then they can't get you in the ankles. And I was like, oh, there's a lesson there. So I'm like, Siri, make a note, avoiding the thistles like I was, but Ava just steps directly on them. She instinctively knows if she steps on them, they can't hurt her. Do a post on that. Like that's like literally in my notes because I thought later when I sit down and I have to come up with a post and I have to come up with something, I'll be like, I've got nothing. So if I make a note of it, like when the idea hits me for copy, that's so helpful for me anyway.
Yeah, I've got so many of these notes. And then something else I do is this may help some people. It's kept me out of trouble.
Okay.
When I'm writing a text message or an email to somebody, especially if it's about anything that might be a little bit sensitive, I write it in the text app first. So I can't accidentally send it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I can go back and read it. I go back and read it later, make sure it's what I want to say.
Yeah.
But often I'll find I've typed something in there that I can use in copy. Like I happen to look down here randomly and see, I wrote, here's something I could use your help on. That's actually the beginning of a text message to somebody. I thought that is a great subject line.
For like an email, that is a great subject line.
Yes.
Okay.
Now you want to make sure what's in the email is consistent with that. But if you're asking people to click on a link or answer a poll or something like that, that's perfect. So this is the kind of thing for me. Almost every good email and every good piece of copy starts with a little snippet of text like that just gets me inspired to start writing.
That's
And
good.
And here's the third thing. People try too hard to make their writing perfect. They want to make sure their English composition teacher would be pleased with it. And I would say, please disregard that while you're writing.
Yeah.
Turn off your inner editor and just write.
That's good. Your inner editor. That's good.
Later, you can edit and rearrange and check the spelling and the grammar and make sure it's in the right order. But while you're in the flow of getting words on the screen or on paper, let that happen and edit afterwards. Stephen King, which you may or may not like his stuff, but he's written a lot of books. A lot of people love his stories. He's a great storyteller. He says, he writes big books, in case you don't know. He's like a 1,000-page guy. He says, it's better to be a taker-outer than it is to be a putter-inner. Meaning you've written too much and you get to go in and just trim things out. That's a good scenario to be in.
That's good. I love that. I love that. Any trends that you're seeing in copywriting right now, Ray? Things that, are kind of trendy or working well. Like I was sitting here thinking about how a few years ago, it seemed like I would get so many emails, somebody's selling their course. And then a couple hours later, I get another email. Oops. Forgot, it's basically like, oops, the link in the last email didn't work. And in my head, I was like, really, I've seen this type of thing happen 5,000 times in the last month. So I don't really believe that email, but so I was thinking that was kind of a trend. Is there anything you're seeing right now?
All that stuff is still there. In fact, we did just that thing you just described this last week, and it was because I screwed something up.
Did you really?
As I sent the email out, I was thinking, nobody's going to believe this, but I can't do anything but tell the truth. I screwed it up. So
I believe you.
Thank you. It's interesting. There's I had in here some notes on 3 email subject lines that are working. Let's see if I can find them. So the trend is short and curiosity invoking. Yes, here we go. Yep. 3 email subject lines that are working well right now. The first one is just put the person's name in the subject line of the email. So if you've got an email service provider that will do this, I mean, if you got an email from me that said Jennifer in the subject line, you'd probably look in the email.
Yep.
Another way to try that is to put it in all caps.
The whole subject line of the email, or just the name?
Just the name.
Just
that's
the name.
All that's in the subject line, just all caps. Some email service providers will let you do that. Some won't.
Okay.
Here's another one that's worked really well for us and for many other people. Stop it.
Okay. That's all that's in the subject line.
Yes. So then you have to figure out, well, how does that relate to my business?
Right.
So if I'm teaching people nutrition, stop it could be stop going by Starbucks on your way to work and drinking 1,000 calories before you've even eaten anything.
Good stuff.
Stop drinking a cup full of sugar.
Mm-hmm.
The third one is, this is a variation on something.
Okay.
A friend of mine, he is a dear friend, but he has made the subject line bad news famous because he uses it a lot and people always click on it and open it. And I just thought, I know it works, but I wish it didn't have to be like that. So I started using good news.
Okay.
Guess what? It works better.
I love that.
So like
good news and then something behind it, or just the whole subject line, just good news?
Whole subject. The key to all these is 1 or 2 words.
Okay.
Good news. And so what's the good news? Well, the good news is we just released our course and people are loving it. Here's what some of our folks have said. And you have maybe 3 quick testimonials and check it out for yourself. Here's a link. So those are 3 you can use. So it's really short, 1 or 2 words, curiosity invoking, and you don't take a lot of time getting to what the email's about. Mm-hmm. You get right to it. So what's the good news? What do you want me to stop? And why are you calling me out by name? Okay.
I love that. Those are such great tips for all of us. Thank you. Last thing I wanted to ask you about, and I want to be really honorable with your time here today, is because we're at almost the top of the hour, but when is a good time for somebody to just hire a copywriter? Or if there's somebody that's like, I feel like I'm horrible at this. Like, is there, when is the best time to hire a copywriter, or how do you hire a copywriter? Or where do you find a copywriter? Like, tell us all those things.
The best time is when you have learned how to write copy well enough that you know whether the copywriter you're hiring is writing good copy or just taking your money.
That's so good.
It's really important. I know there are many people who don't want to learn and want to just hire somebody, but what's going to happen if you do that is you're going to hire 2 or 3 different people, end up paying each of them $5, $10, $20, $40, $50,000. And you just might as well set your money on fire.
Yeah.
So first, learn. Second, write your own copy for a while until you get a really good sense of what's working for you and your offer. And then third, hire very carefully. And there's so many people claiming to be copywriters, and they have the appearance of being a copywriter. They have a good website. It looks very convincing, but you really need somebody with a track record of success. And we have an agency, and spirit of full disclosure. So something we do is we talk with people. We don't take on very many clients, but we often connect them with our certified copywriters who have our approval and have our backing. Yes. So like if they hosed you, you'd let us know about it. And
right.
We chase them down. And, beat them with a wet newspaper.
Exactly.
No, we've never had to do that, but we do back them up, and they've been trained in our system of writing copy. So we have different levels of service we offer. There's other people that do this as well. But I really think you need to learn it first yourself, and then you hire very carefully and you check. This blows me away. People don't check references. Like I invite you to call anybody on my client list and ask them about me. Yeah. And I'm not worried about what they're going to say, because I know we work together and it was a good relationship. It still is, or I wouldn't have listed them on my site. Right. Right. Sure. But so many people will claim they've worked for 10 or 12 people that don't even know who they are. Okay. So check references, and then start with a small project and see how that goes. Do they deliver on time? Do they deliver what they promised? That's good. Does it work? If it doesn't work, how do they respond? Because look, not every piece of copy I write works. And the true test of a professional copywriter is a pro will be on the phone with you saying, how's it going? And if you say it's terrible, then the pro is going to say, oh, well, let's talk. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's fix it. The amateur or the con artist is going to ghost you. Expensive. Yeah. Okay. That's good. We did have a question from someone who wants to know more about your certification program in here. Do you have time to tell us about that? Sure. It's the certification. We just made a big change to the certification. It was a 12-month program. Okay. I was a little frustrated with all the quickie certifications, like where you pay $100 and get certified, or you pay a couple thousand and go to a weekend seminar and nobody looks at your copy and they certify you. And that annoyed the stuffing out of me. Yeah. So we had 12 months of curriculum. I think it's the best certification program on the market. A lot of people did not like waiting 12 months. So we've created an accelerated track. So 6 weeks gets you certified, but to stay certified, you're in our program for another 12 months. And we continue to expand on your expertise, your knowledge. The other thing we do is we give you an assignment with each week's lesson material, and then you write, and then we have coaches who read your writing, who look at it, correct it, make suggestions, and you have to rewrite and get a passing grade to move on to the next assignment. Okay. And then we have in our ongoing training area, we have monthly copy critique calls, group critique calls, mindset calls, how to build your business if you want to be a copywriter for hire. And I think it's the best place to get the education about how to write copy that sells, and to get actual coaching from me and my coaches and feedback. And then we only hire people to write for our agency who've been certified through our program. That's so good. That's so good. It's not a guarantee you'll get hired, but you have to be certified to get hired.
Okay. Can you, we've got a couple more questions here. I know you have a bundle that you have available right now too. It's at, Tracy, could you type this in the chat? It's at rayedwards.com/ultimate-bundle. Can you tell us what that is for? Because I think that's more of not to get certified, but that's for people that just need help on their copy, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And so many other things. This is just a crazy idea I had. And I thought, why not? Let's try it. So we took all of my digital products that I had locked away in the vault and put them into one offer for $197. There's like $21,000 worth of courses in here.
I saw that.
For $197. And there's no trick. There's no like secret continuing ongoing charge.
Right.
It's just one payment of $197. You have access forever. We do give you a free month we have a low priced monthly membership community where we also give feedback. If you're an entrepreneur who wants to write copy for your own business, this might be something. Certification is $12,000. So this might be something that you may be more interested in starting with.
Okay.
So it's $197. We're going to be closing it down in a few days, but it's been a very successful offer for us.
Okay.
And people are loving it. And it's not to love. I mean, it's good stuff. Even if I did make it, I can say that.
That's awesome. Okay, we have another question, last one here from Michelle Rupp, who says, when just starting out and talking to a potential client, how do you handle the urge to offer something to be risk-free or guaranteed? If they buy it from you, will it work? And then what do you do if it doesn't work for them? So do you ever use the words like risk-free or guarantee in your copy?
I do, but only if I'm willing to back them up.
Okay.
So, often if it's a course, I tend to use the language, if you're going to give this an honest effort and you're going to go through the steps and it doesn't work for you, then school will give you a refund in the refund period.
Okay.
Sometimes I will say, now you could take advantage of me. You could rip me off. You could pay the money, download everything, and then ask for your money back.
Right.
I'm hoping you have more ethics than that and won't do that.
Yeah.
So, but I have no problem making that offer. Now, like for copy, if you're doing a service, this is really important, especially like copywriting. I don't offer copywriting on that basis because there's so many things other than the copy that come into, this.
There are, yes.
Making an offer work. It's not just the copy.
Right.
But
the copy can be great and they get to a sales page that they wrote and it's horrible, or they don't push enough traffic to the sales page and then that's not going to convert.
Or their offers just terrible. They didn't know who they were actually speaking to.
The
There's
price,
so many things.
Not good. Yeah. Okay. That's really good. All right. So Ray, I think you love, but correct me if I'm wrong. Do you prefer Instagram over Facebook? Because I know some of the ladies in here are going to want to connect with you. I want every single one of you to go follow him. Would you prefer that be on Instagram or would you prefer that be on Facebook or both?
Both. I love them both.
Okay. He loves them both. He hasn't broken up with Facebook yet. I have. No, I'm kidding. I'm having a harder time loving Facebook. I don't know why.
I have followed your tumultuous relationship with Facebook.
I know. It's like, I loved it. And then I fell kind of out of love with it a little bit. And part of that was because as I kind of step into more of talking about the things that I want to talk about, Facebook, it feels a little more vulnerable and it's not as kind and welcoming to strong opinions as Instagram is. So I think that's part of the reason. But so, ladies, would you do me a favor and would you go find Ray there? And I just want to make sure that we are always working towards just a culture of honor in this group. And so go find Ray on social media. If you want to take a picture of him and I quick and post it, on your Instagram stories and tag him. You don't even have to tag me as just a guest that we had here today. I want you to know his time is super valuable. And Ray, we appreciate you so much. I know that you are a busy person and there's a lot of places you could be. So thank you for just blessing us with your knowledge today.
Well, I appreciate you so much. I really respect, admire, and honor the work you're doing. So it's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you. You're awesome.